Alrighty, this is Robbie Parker, and I'm going to be joined by Big D from Big D's Entertainment Rankings and Reviews, and we're going to be reviewing the 2000 movie Scream 3. So, in this movie, a new Ghostface killer shows up to haunt Sydney and her friends, this time in Hollywood, around the set of the movie Within a Movie Stab 3. And this time the killer wants to make an end to a trilogy that links to Sydney's past. So before I get into my part, I'm going to let Big D do his part like always, so take it away, Big D.
Hey everyone, this is the Big D, and I'm once again going to be collabing with Robbie, and this time we're going to be talking about Wes Craven's 2000 slasher sequel, Scream 3. Now, the story for Scream 3 follows Sydney, who has gone into self-imposed isolation following the events of the previous two films, but is drawn to Hollywood after a new ghost face begins killing the cast of the film within a film called Stab 3. The film combines the violence of the slasher genre with comedy and whodunit mystery, while satirizing the cliche of film trilogies. Yes, and unlike the other films, there was an increased emphasis on comedic elements in this installment. But of course, the violence and horror were reduced in response to increased public scrutiny about violence in Mia following a Syrian high school massacre. Yeah. Now, this is also my least favorite in the Scream franchise. But however, I do like the meta feel this had to offer, much like what happened in another Wes Craven film a few years before this in New Nightmare. While I appreciated having David Arquette, Neve Campbell, and Courtney Cox, who was now married to David at the time, being credited as Courtney Cox Arquette, back as Dewey, Sydney, and Gail, they are all still pretty good, just like before. The cast has some others, members who can be a hit or miss, like Patrick Dempsey, Scott Foley as Roman, the director of Stab 3, Lance Henriksen, Matt Kieslar, Jane McCarthy, Emily Mortimer, Parker Posey, Dion Richmond, and Patrick Warburton. There was also special appearances from Carrie Fisher, Jamie Kennedy, despite his character Randy was killed off. Peter Matarazzo appears in this, and Liev Schreiber returns as Con Weary, who unfortunately got killed in the first few minutes of the film. But of the whole, I do have a little bit of a soft spot for Scream 3, but it's still not that great though. Again, as I've said before, it's my least favorite. At least we also have Wes Craven back on board as director, and also Marco Beltrami's back on board to do the score. Aside from Marco Beltrami's score, the soundtrack also provides some pretty good songs from various new metal artists like System of a Down, Godsmack, Cold Chamber, Stag X, Incubus, Fuel, Powerman 5000, and even Stained. The soundtrack did spin out one hit single in What If by the band Creed, as that song was originally included on their sophomore album Human Clay, released the previous year. But anyway, the soundtrack to Scream 3 is pretty good. Another thing I liked about Scream 3 was the voice changer that the, person who was Ghostface, which I won't really reveal it, used to make him sound like Ghostface. That was really something that made it pretty good and interesting. But of the whole, as I've said, this is my least favorite in the franchise. I only recommend you watch this if you're a hardcore completionist. Since we do have the same three main characters from the first two films back plus the new ones, this film's okay. Not the best, but it's fine. So as always, thank you for making me a part of this, Robbie. Until our next collab, this is the Big D saying, see ya.
Thank you, Big D. It was great to have you on here as always. And I'm gonna go ahead and get into my part. So I think this is an okay movie. I think that Neve Campbell is once again great as Sydney Prescott. She really plays Sydney really well and does a great job. David Arquette and Courtney Cox are once again great as Dewey and Gail Weathers, and everything that they play there. All of them fit their roles really well, and they never skip a beat in this franchise. They all give good performances in all of the movies they're in. I think that they all did a good job. Patrick Dempsey is pretty good too. I actually really liked his character in here of Mark Kincaid, the detective that's on the case of the Ghostface murders and stuff. I think he's a likable character and stuff, and I'm kind of sad that they never brought him back and stuff. I know people have been wanting him to be in the new Scream movies and stuff, and there for a long time I didn't really want him back because I just don't really care for this one as much as the other Scream movies and everything, but this movie has grown on me a lot, so I gotta say I wouldn't mind if he did eventually come back. The reveal of Roman being the only killer this time around was pretty good too, and making him Sydney's brother and the mastermind behind the events of the whole trilogy is a pretty cool concept and everything, and I think they executed it as well as they could have. And I really like the new voice changer thing in here too. I think it was pretty cool having where you could make it sound like anybody and stuff. I think it's kind of ahead of its time and stuff on what they're going with and everything, and I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of that in Scream 7 and everything. I think they're going to bring back that kind of voice changer. And I like the scene where we meet Randy's sister and see the videotape of him explaining the rules of the trilogy and stuff. That was a cool little scene. It was a cool way to bring Randy back at least one last time and everything, so I thought that was pretty cool too. And I also love the cameos in here. Jay and Silent Bob have a cool little cameo, and Carrie Fisher, and she definitely has my favorite cameo in the whole movie. She just cracks me up and everything, but she's great in here too. She's funny as heck. And I really like the opening scene with Cotton Wary being killed because he's one of my least favorite characters. Like, he gets on my nerves so bad that, like, the opening scene and him dying is actually one of my favorite opening scenes in the franchise and everything, because I really don't like him and stuff and everything. As far as negatives go, most of the new characters are pretty bland and forgettable. Parker Posey's character especially, she stands out and everything, but she gets on my nerves and everything. Like, she's the one that's playing Gail Weathers, who Gail Weathers gets on my nerves enough as it is, but an actress playing Gail Weathers in the movie and everything, and she's annoying too and everything. She just gets on my nerves. The story, while it does have some intriguing stuff, is kind of badly written. It's not nearly as sharply written and clever as the first two movies and everything, and a lot of that I think comes down to Kevin Williamson didn't write this movie and everything. I know we don't need him to write a good Scream movie because Scream 5 and 6 weren't written by him and everything, but it still, it really hurt and everything not having him involved in this movie. It hurt the movie, I think, and stuff, because Aaron Kruger doesn't make the worst movies or anything. It isn't the worst writer or anything, but just didn't really fit Scream and everything, and it just shows like how much of a crucial part Kevin Williamson is to this franchise and stuff. The kills are also pretty forgettable too. They're just all stab and everything, which, I mean, they kind of are in all of them, although some of them are more brutal than others, so some stand out more than others in the franchise. But I feel like this movie has the weakest skills and stuff, but also has the weakest set of characters too, so maybe that's part of it too. So all in all, I think Scream 3 is an alright movie. It's definitely not as good as the first two and everything. It has some pretty cool ideas in there, and it's watered down by a not very good script and everything. The writing is just not very great, but the pacing is kind of bad and everything, and the new characters are annoying. So it's got a lot of mixed bag elements for me and everything. But I will say that I did like the returning cast, getting to see them together again, and some of the The jokes and stuff landed really well. The cameos were cool, and it had an okay enough story to keep me intrigued. It's not one that I ever dread watching when I watch the franchise, even though it is easily my least favorite. But I still think it's a solid enough movie and everything. So luckily, this wasn't the end of the franchise and stuff. If this would have been the last Scream movie, I would have felt like it went out on a whimper. But since we've gotten other movies since then and stuff, I don't really have as much of a hatred towards this one and everything. It's just my least favorite out of the bunch and everything. And it has grown on me a lot, though, ever since I first saw it. So when I first saw it, I probably would have said that I didn't like it at all, because I really was disappointed with it and everything. But nowadays, I'd say I'd give it a 6.5 out of 10 and everything. It's definitely my least favorite Scream movie, and if I were to go to watch a Scream movie, I would probably pick literally any other Scream movie than this one and everything. But yeah, so this one is just okay. It's not the best, and I'm glad that the series didn't end here like they had originally had intended. But anyway, let me know in the comments what you think of Scream 3, and thank you, Big D, for joining me. It was great to have you on here as always, and have a good day, everybody. I just want to say thank you for watching this video and everything. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please like and subscribe and share this video with your friends and get more people going, help the channel grow. I really appreciate it, and thank you all, and have a good day.